So I've been diving for a really long time. Ever since I was a little kid watching Flipper and Sea Hunt, Jacques Cousteau, I knew that it was something that, even as a small child, I knew that it was something that I would have to be a part of, or would have to be a part of my life. So as soon as I was old enough, which was a really long time ago, I got certified to dive. And since that time, I've been really, really fortunate to be able to do a lot of diving. In the last 15 years or so, I've been doing a lot more technical and cave diving, which I got into around 2005. And in that time, a lot of the diving that I've done in the caves has been behind the camera. But in the last few years or so, I sort of put that aside a little more, and I've gotten really passionate about doing exploration underwater in the caves. And so I've thought about doing this project for quite a while now, in front of the camera, which I don't really like, but it's something that I kind of feel like I need to do for the people that are close to me that do ask what I do and why I do it. It'd be a lot easier for me to take you along with me, show you exactly what we do, how safe it is, and why it's safe. And I figured that would answer a lot of those questions, you know, and because it's really hard to explain to people how incredible it really is. You can't, I honestly, I've had zero luck explaining to people why. But to show you is a completely different thing, and it's something that I think people will understand, and something that they'll maybe aspire to. You know, I've said this forever, you know, we need, as a species, as people, we need to challenge ourselves. I believe personally it's important to scare ourselves a little bit once in a while, and sometimes I do that, you know, not really very much, but a little bit. I definitely challenge myself when we're diving. So I think it's important. It's important for me personally. I think it's important for most people. It's something that's sort of lost today, you know, with the social media and this texting and the cell phones. This is actually getting out into the environment. I usually go out by myself. I love to explore by myself. I love to go out in the jungle by myself. It's very zen, it's very peaceful. I don't feel afraid or anything really at any time. I just feel like it's something, again, that I need to do, and something I need to share with you guys as friends and family, and maybe some other people that wonder, you know, that have that question, you know, why, what the hell's wrong with you? So hopefully I'll be able to do that today. For starters, I'll just run down basic gear configuration that I use and that most people use these days in cave diving and cave exploration. I personally do something that's called side mount diving. That's where I wear my two primary tanks, one on each side. What it does is it makes my profile smaller this way, makes it easier for me to swim through, get to areas that I need to get through that are restricted or smaller. So it also gives you the option of taking your tanks off, pushing them in front of you, which makes you even a little bit smaller. So this is, of course, opposed to wearing tanks on your back. Generally, I'll dive with 3 tanks. I'll dive with my 2 primary tanks, and I'll dive with a stage tank. The stage tank is just added gas, gets me a little bit farther. So today I'll be bringing these 3 tanks, also be bringing along my scooter. That just gets me where I want to go a little bit quicker, allows me to do a little bit more exploration. So that's sort of a quick rundown right here of the heavy lifting, the heavy part of the gear that we use. All right, so just quickly, I'm going to put this stuff on. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on it, but this would be my wing. It's got all the D-rings, clips, it's got my bladder on it, so on my wing, so I can inflate for buoyancy, up, down. I'm going to be pretty heavy today. I'm guessing, all told, I'm going to be running with about 200 pounds of extra gear besides my body weight. And I'd say about most dives are like that, because I rarely dive without a stage being a 3rd tank. Low pressure inflator hose. This is for inflating my wing to put air back here to help me stay buoyant so I don't just drop to the bottom. First, I'll be putting on my primary light Monkey 24 watt. My gap reels that I'll use for jumping off the main line to another line. When I do that, I'll mark with my line arrows and my cookies, my markers. I'll put these on my butt D ring. This is kind of one of my main pieces of gear, or one of our main pieces of gear would be our exploration reel. This is for running new line into new areas of cave. When I got this out when I'm diving is usually when I'm having the most fun. So what we're doing in the cave is we're always following a line. This is a survey slate. This is for writing down the data. Once you lay a line in the cave, you want to survey it back, depth, direction, and distance. We put all the data on the slate, bring the slate back, and put the data in the computer. We can see exactly where we went underwater by taking a GPS mark at the entrance to the cave system. Here in Mexico, I use one computer because we don't do much decompression diving here, really at all, because most of the caves are between 20 and maybe 60 feet average depth. It doesn't require a lot of decompression. The minimal decompression I can do, if my computer breaks or goes out, I could just do it on my watch. And so when I dove in Belize, most of the caves are between 90 and maybe 110 feet average depth, so we always brought two computers, O2, decompression gas, and so it was a lot more important to keep track of exactly what we were doing down there, because the diving was, as far as depth, was a little more challenging. So primary light here, I got two backup lights on my helmet. I personally carry another backup light on my data ring, courtesy of Patrick Martin. Anyway, so that's it. So I go, and I'll be back. Pretty much standard procedures to get tanks, scooters, and any excess heavy gear as close to the water as possible. Then we'd put on our fins, tanks, masks, helmets, etc., and do a quick test on the lights and air supply before we start the dive. This particular dive, you can see me scootering through the cenote to the entrance to the cave. Leaving the ambient light, you can get a good look at the beginning of the guideline. This one is marked with two arrows indicating the exit. What this tells me is that it was likely originally explored from this cenote, and the two arrows as opposed to one indicates two different explorers or exploration teams. You can see the speed with which we can travel with a scooter as opposed to swimming. It is roughly 3 times faster. Generally speaking, it's not a good idea to scooter a system until you are familiar with it. The rule is at least one dive. Personally, I'm more comfortable with at least 2. Coming up on the first tee of this dive, I will stop and place a personal marker on the exit line, the line with which I entered. It has my name, and I like to number them as well. This one is not a directional marker or arrow, which I could use also, but for this purpose I only need to know which line I came in on when I return. On my wrist slate I will write the marker number, time into the dive, and the gas I used to get there. Good information to have on my return. It is also important to know my SAC rate, which basically stands for surface air consumption, which could be a whole other video. But in this case tells me personally how much gas it would take me to swim out of the cave if I have a scooter failure. Here, I will not only drop my scooter, but I will also jump off the main line to another existing line I will be exploring off of today. I will clip off my scooter, locking the accelerator handle so that it cannot accidentally take off for any reason. I will also turn the speed to the lowest setting, so if there is some kind of a problem while I'm gone, or the scooter might try to run away, it has very minimal power and would do none to very little damage to the cave or itself before I return. I will then take a personal line arrow, installing it on the line, pointing in the direction of my exit. Next, I will take what we call a gap reel and tie it directly into the line arrow. Then I will swim to another existing line that I want to follow and tie the gap reel into that. This part of the cave gets a little tight, so here I will take off my stage and push it in front of me, continuing to breathe from it. If you cave dive long enough, you will see a real mixed bag of every kind of cave you can imagine. From Yab Yum, which was discovered by Robbie Schmittner and his Vanilla Sky team a few years back, which can best be described as not only beautiful but massively huge. All the way down to this squeeze, which is coincidentally the connection point of Sac Actun in Dos Ojos, which was discovered by Robbie Schmittner and his team, consisting of Jim Josiak, Cedric Gear, and myself to make Sac Actun the longest underwater cave system in the world. Robbie makes it look pretty easy. It's not. Then back to myself and what looks like Big Cave compared to Robbie's connection point squeeze. In cave diving, we have what is called the rule of thirds. It basically says that you will use 1/3 of your gas to penetrate, 1/3 to return to your entrance, and save 1/3 for emergencies. So at this point in the dive, I have used 1/3 of my stage bottle, which I will remove and tie off to the line, switching to one of my remaining full tanks. As seen here, I will then mark the direction of my exit with a personal line arrow. Blind cavefish. What else is there to say about that? This here would be the second jump of this dive. I've already marked the main line with my arrow and tied in my gap reel. I will now tie the reel into the next line I will be following. Okay, this is now where things get interesting. You can see me tying off my exploration reel to this station. My directional arrow already installed on the line to the right. For me, the greatest thing about running my exploration reel is that it's a pretty good bet that no one in the history of this planet has ever been where I am or seen what I am seeing. I'm pretty sure that the only other place this could apply would be some of the deepest and as of yet unknown parts of the ocean. Again, sometimes it's big, sometimes not so big. Sometimes silty, sometimes clear, sometimes crumbly, well, you get the idea. I will say, for anyone that is wondering, there are areas of the cave that are extremely unstable, but it is possible in most cases to recognize these and stay clear of them. As much as I love finding new areas of cave, one of the things that I love more is looking for and finding ancient artifacts. I know two things about this jawbone. One, it's very old, and two, I would not want to have been bitten by it when it was alive. This is pretty much exactly what my very recent first encounter with these ancient Mayan ceramics looked like. They are early classic, which would put them as much as 1800 years old. Look carefully and you can see that the artwork is still definable. Just another answer to the question why. Why do I do this? And a great place to turn the dive. After finishing surveying the line, I'll reverse order, pick everything back up, and we'll call it a dive. Well, I have to go home and see what we got. That was a great dive. Found some new bones, jawbone. A little bit of video of it. It's pretty mucky in there, but we'll see what we get.
Beautiful day. No monkeys.
So, underneath the ground. All right, take 11. Take 25. Take 30. Take 40. Cave diving. Gear configurations are different. So in cave diving, we do something called sight. So in cave diving, what we do, so for starters, I'll get into a little bit more. So I'll get into a little bit, we go in the water, but I'll try not to get any, I'll get into a little more of that so I've been diving ever since I was a little kid, watching flipper, sea hunt, oh dear Lord, ever since I was the smallest of. So as soon as I was old enough, so I'll continue swimming into the cave till I've take 500. I wanted to get underwater. Gosh darn it. Really all I wanted to do was be Lloyd Bridges, be the kid in Flipper, and take 50. Oh good Lord, come on. This is getting off on something I don't need. Why I'd want to do, so why would I do, why do I do? Let's see what we see. Let's go.